We're about to hear Teresa Rodriguez, host of the WhereTraveler podcast, on location at the Sonoma International Film Festival. Now, Sonoma is just an hour's drive north of San Francisco, and it's known for the sprawling vineyards that produce some of the world's best wine, for the restaurants operated by renowned chefs, and for the natural beauty and casual luxury that seems to be everywhere you look. But this weekend, we pull focus to the international filmmakers showcasing their stories. Teresa talks with Julie Morrison, whose film Call of the Valley, The Enduring Lure of Sonoma, examines the quiet draw of the lush valley starting 12,000 years ago with the arrival of the area's first inhabitants, through Sonoma's importance in the establishment of California, and to its crucial influence on modern-day winemaking and culinary culture. She talks with Erin Palmquist, director of Baghdad to the Bay, the story of Ghazwan al-Sharif, an Iraqi translator for the U.S. military who was wrongfully accused of being a double agent, tortured and ostracized from his family and his country because he is gay. The film recounts his journey to America and chronicles the rebuilding of his life in the San Francisco Bay Area. And finally, Teresa talks with Steve Esparza and the subject of his documentary, Girl on Waves, Sarah Hauser. She's an athlete from New Caledonia with a world-class talent for windsurfing that has catapulted her to the international stage. We're excited to bring you all of these filmmakers as they discuss their stories and this festival with your host, Teresa Rodriguez.
You're listening to the WhereTraveler podcast, the audio companion for WhereTraveler magazine in print and online. For more information, go to wheretraveler.com. And now, Teresa Rodriguez, editor-in-chief for WhereTraveler San Francisco.
Hi, this is Teresa Rodriguez with WhereTraveler. We're at the Sonoma International Film Festival. And I am with Julie Morrison. She is the director, writer, producer of the movie Call of the Valley, The Enduring Lure of Sonoma. So the synopsis is, over thousands of years, many have heeded the seductive call of Sonoma Valley. Sonoma locals lead us through time from the arrival of the Native Americans 12,000 years ago, through the birth of the state of California to the rise of modern-day winemaking. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you. Thrilled to be here.
Congratulations on your premiere documentary this weekend. Yep. How are you enjoying it?
It's been a fabulous weekend. It's been nonstop fun. And starting with the launch of my film, and I've seen so many fantastic movies and talked to so many people from all over the world, and the weather's been great. It's just been exhilarating the whole way.
I was looking at your background, and you really didn't start as a filmmaker. Can you tell us about what happened?
Well, I guess I would call myself a total accidental filmmaker. I did not have aspirations to make a film, and what happened was I had worked on a smaller project that involved video for a local family here in Sonoma Valley, the San Giacomo family, and it turned out to be a 30-minute oral family history on the valley. And through that process, I met two local people very involved with the history of Sonoma Valley, one of whom is a 90-year-old person who's collected information about the history of the valley for over 60 years. And it really bothered me that no one had done an oral history of him. And he has incredible wealth of knowledge on the history of the valley. And Sonoma Valley has just a remarkable history. And so I thought, you know what, I think I can give this a chance. I think I can kind of capture some of the history and the stories, the anecdotes that this gentleman, this historian had, and then the project just grew from there. So by the end of the film, I had interviewed 20 different people in the valley, a mixture of local historians as well as families who have multiple generations in the valley. And so we cover the full scope of history, as you said, from the Native American period forward to where we are today. So it's a full sweep across time.
So for our international listeners, just a little we'll elucidate them on Sonoma. So can you tell us where Sonoma Valley is located and what makes this place so special?
Sonoma Valley is located about a 40-minute drive north of San Francisco, so you can come right over the Golden Gate Bridge. That's one way to get there, and drive a very short distance. And the valley is spectacularly beautiful. It's called another name for the valley is the Valley of the Moon. And that's a historic name. There are many different ways that people think about why it's called Valley of the Moon. But if you've ever been in Sonoma Valley during a full moon, you will never, ever, ever forget it in your entire life. It's just exquisitely beautiful. And the valley is known not only for its incredible history, but also for its winemaking. People come here and many people never leave, or people like myself come and go. They come here, and that's why, the tagline of the film is the enduring lure of Sonoma. It's like once Sonoma gets its hooks in you, they don't come out.
Right.
You really... So Sonoma is a small town. The town is Sonoma. The valley is very small as well. So it's, 18 miles north to south. It's between two mountain ranges.
Is there a bucket list items? Is there 5 bucket list items that if you're coming to Sonoma, you must do?
Well, if you're coming to Sonoma, you certainly should go visit some of the historic sites, because Sonoma Valley is where the state of California started, and through the Bear Flag Revolt, and that was in 1846. And if you look at the state flag for California, there's a grizzly bear on the flag, and that's related to the Bear Flag Revolt, which there's a grizzly bear, and it's the Bear Flag Revolt, and it happened right here in the valley. So there are multiple historic venues in the valley that relate to the birth of the state of California in that whole period. There's certainly wine tasting galore. There are many fantastic wineries in the valley. Some of the
oldest in California, correct?
Some of the oldest. So in the film, you'll see that Buena Vista is one of the oldest commercial wineries in the state of California. It's also where viticulture, modern day viticulture started there.
Yeah, and first gravity.
Yeah, first gravity flow.
Yeah.
A lot of the what they call the varietals of the wine, like Cabernet Sauvignon, Chardonnay. So the founder, Augustin Huneeus from Buena Vista, he went back to Europe. He was a Hungarian gentleman, and he went back to Europe and brought over all of these cuttings of vines and helped establish high-quality vineyards.
Can you tell us about the history of the missions here? There's a mission here, correct?
The Sonoma Mission was established in 1823, and it was the last of the missions built in California, and it's the only mission that was built during the Mexican period of history. So California was first settled by Native Americans, and then the Spanish came in, the Mexican government came in and reigned before it was taken over by the Americans, the U.S.
What are some of your favorite things in Sonoma? What are your...
Well, I love to hike in Sonoma Valley. There's just incredible beauty. If you go up in the hills, Jack London State Park is a phenomenal place. It's a beautiful place for a picnic. It's a beautiful place to learn about Jack London, who he could have lived anywhere in the world, and he picked Sonoma Valley. And so there is a beautiful museum up there that tells the story of his life. You can go hiking there. There are just so many... Sonoma Valley is very outdoor oriented. So anyone that likes to go for hikes, go for bike rides, there are a lot of flatlands in Sonoma where you can go biking, but there are also hills. So there's just like an unlimited number of outdoor activities, as well as wine tasting and historic.
So what do you want people, when they watch your film, what is it that you want them to leave with?
I want them to leave with the knowledge, I guess it's twofold, that Sonoma Valley is really where the state of California started, through the Bear Flag Revolt. And every time you see the California state flag, look at the grizzly bear, and that connects to Sonoma Valley, to Sonoma. And also the wine tasting. The wine tasting is spectacular. So, if you love good food and good wine, anywhere in the world, come to Sonoma Valley because you can enjoy so many different things, wine, food, and outdoor activities.
Can you tell us about a few of the restaurants that are here?
Oh my gosh, there's so many great restaurants. Well, some of my favorites, I love Cafe La Haye, which is right off the plaza. Girl in the Fig is fantastic. There's a new restaurant up in Kenwood, Salt and Stone, that is really great. Star in Glen Ellen is fantastic.
Star. Oof.
El Molino Central is the best, in my opinion, Mexican food. So anyway, and Maya on the Plaza as well. They're all wonderful, wonderful restaurants.
Well, thank you so much. How can people find your movie, Julie?
I recommend that people go on my website, callofthevalley.net, and there is information about the film. And so just check there, and also on Facebook, Sonoma Call of the Valley.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Julie, this has been fantastic, and I've learned so much about Sonoma and this wonderful area.
Well, come back.
You bet. I'm Teresa Rodriguez, Editor-in-Chief of Where San Francisco, and you're listening to Where Travel Podcast, where we'd love to talk about anything related to travel. For more information about this episode, as well as Where Traveler, be sure to check out WhereTraveler.com. Hi, this is Teresa Rodriguez with WhereTraveler.com. We're here with director Erin Palmquist at the Sonoma International Film Festival and her movie, Baghdad to the Bay. Welcome.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, thanks so much for being here. This is such a fascinating movie. It's a decade in the making, correct?
Yes, correct.
And let's just give our listeners the synopsis. Ghazwan al-Sharif worked as a translator for the U.S. military in Iraq. 4 days after the fall of Saddam Hussein, Ghazwan was wrongly accused of being a double agent. He was tortured and interrogated by the U.S. military for 75 days. After he was released, he came to the United States, which is where his story begins. He's been in the U.S. for 10 years now and is a U.S. citizen. How did you find this gentleman?
So back in 2008, I partnered with several colleagues. We were interested in making a documentary together. And one of the areas that sparked our interest was the new community that was forming in the Bay Area of Iraqi refugees. There was a large community in the San Diego region from the first Gulf War, but not much of a community in the Bay Area. But with the Iraq War, a new community was forming, and we partnered with the International Rescue Committee. They provided us with lots of information and connected us to people who had just arrived, who were very candid and open to telling us their stories in person, but not many of them were willing to be on camera because they feared for their family's safety back in Iraq and what that reputation might mean for them. Ghazwan arrived, and we actually had just put in a grant proposal. So I was ready to kind of move on, thinking maybe we won't have a documentary because people were not interested in participating. The IRC put me in touch with him, and I had a brief conversation with him on the phone. And before I let him go, I thought to ask, would you be willing to be on camera if we did receive the grant money? And he said, heck yeah, and I've got a story to tell.
Wow.
So I heard a synopsis, a short version, over the phone, and it wasn't a story we could walk away from. So we immediately met with him and did a short interview and did not receive the funding, but couldn't leave the story behind. So it became the Ghazwan story, and we followed him for 8 years while he rebuilt his life here in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I wanted to let our listeners know. It's Baghdad to the Bay, and when we're talking about the Bay, we're talking about the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where we're at now, when we're in Sonoma. So are you a resident of the Bay Area as well?
Yes, I am. I live in Oakland, California, and Ghazwan lives in San Francisco.
Oh, fantastic. So I understand that after he was free, he had a choice of anywhere he could live in the United States. He was given the opportunity to move anywhere, but he chose San Francisco. Why?
So he has a cousin who lived here in San Francisco at the time. So that was one of the reasons. The resettlement agencies do try to put people in places where they have family, so they have that support network when they land. But also Ghazwan is gay, and so San Francisco seemed like a very appropriate place for him to come.
Oh, yeah. it's such a great opportunity for somebody to really spread their wings and, figure out their life choices, I think. So is this your first time at the Sonoma International Film Festival?
Shamefully, yes, it is. I'm really glad to be here, though, and I'm glad to know more about the festival, so I'll be coming back in the years to come, for sure.
Yeah, so tell me about some of your favorite highlights now that the festival's wrapping up. Can you give us a few of your favorites?
Sure, certainly. So, we weren't able to come for opening night, but we were able to come to the From Bollywood to Sonoma Wood party on Friday night, my husband and I, who's from India, and so that was quite fun, and we loved the dancers and really enjoyed meeting people and seeing everybody dressed up. That was entertaining.
Yeah, what I love about this area is that it's so multicultural that, from Baghdad to the Bay, we've got an Iraqi community here, which I would love for you to tell us more about that. Is there a place where people can learn more about the community or places where they can go to eat the food or experience some of the entertainment?
So actually, I would suggest another film festival, the Arab Film Festival, and also the Arab Cultural Center. And they do often have brunches and gatherings where people can go. And then Ghazwan himself does a dance party, bi-monthly, every other month in San Francisco that's open to all, that's supportive of the LGBTQ Middle Eastern community. So that's also a great place to go experience and celebrate with the community.
And where does that take place?
That takes place in San Francisco. He has a Facebook page. It's called Ashaq, ASHEQ.
Yes, and we'll have a link for that as well. So what did he think about the movie when it was done?
That's an interesting story. I'll try to make it short. It was a little anticlimactic, and if you can imagine living your life and then having somebody follow you around with a camera for 8 years and then see their interpretation of it, it would be a little jarring, right? So you remember so many things that happened to you, and then you can only share certain pieces of that story. So at first, I think he was a little surprised that a lot of things were not in the film, and I think he walked away, and it took him a while to digest it. Then because probably he had a preconceived idea of what the story would be, and it wasn't what he expected. Then as he's seen it again and again and again in festivals, he loves it more and more each time and really understands the decisions that we made and why we told the story in the way that we did. So, yes, I think he's very happy with it.
So you're a storyteller. Is this one of the many projects you've worked on, or what are the other projects you've worked on?
So this is my first feature-length documentary. I had a short many years ago, but some of the other projects that I'm working on now, one is called Oakland Originals. We make short documentaries about people in Oakland who are doing interesting things with the director, my friend Jim McSilver. And we screen those at the Grand Lake Theater before feature films when we finish them, which is really fun. So we get a lot of viewership, local viewership.
Can you tell us a bit more about that? So this is in Oakland, California, which is right across the bay from San Francisco. It's a burgeoning community. Lots of creatives are coming out of the area. What is it called again, and what's the website?
It's called Oakland Originals, and it's www.oaklandoriginals.com. And you can watch the first 4 for free. They're online, and we're now in the process of scouting and speaking with people to find the next 4. So it takes some time, as you can imagine, to make these pieces. But hopefully, in the next year, we'll have 4 more coming out soon. And we highlight artists, thinkers, and doers who make Oakland such a unique and vibrant place to live and be.
And how often are they shown in theaters?
So what we did last round was we showed all 4 at the Grand Lake Theater, and then we showed them each one before feature-length films throughout the course of the summer, and we hope to do that again. We haven't solidified anything yet, but that's our plans.
Yes, please let us know at WhereTraveler, because our travelers love to try new things and really get ingrained in the culture. And I think this would be a perfect opportunity for anybody who's visiting the Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland area, even locals, to come out and see some of the work that you're creating.
Thank you.
And where can they see the movie, Baghdad to the Bay?
So unfortunately, we just screened yesterday at the Sonoma Film Festival. We had an incredible sold-out show, but we're also screening today at the Sebastopol Film Festival at 2 o'clock, I believe it is. And then we head to Ashland. We have 5 screenings at the Ashland Film Festival, and we have several festivals we're waiting to hear back from. We're working on educational distribution, and eventually we'll have digital distribution, so people will be able to see it streaming. But that's a ways out, so please do sign up for our newsletter on our website, which is from BaghdadToTheBay.com, or follow us on Facebook.
Well, thank you so much. It was such a delight, Erin, to be here, and congratulations on your first feature.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I'm Teresa Rodriguez, Editor-in-Chief of Where San Francisco, and you're listening to Where Travel Podcast, where we love to talk about anything related to travel. For more information about this episode, as well as Where Traveler, be sure to check out WhereTraveler.com. Now, back to the Sonoma International Film Festival.
Hi, this is Teresa Rodriguez with WhereTraveler. We are at the Sonoma International Film Festival with two fantastic people, Sarah Hauser and Steve Esparza. They created the film Girl on Wave.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you
Thank
guys?
You for this
Girl
intro.
on Wave. I think it'd be
great.
like girl in the water with a lot of wind.
That too, yeah.
So this is a pretty inspiring story. Sarah, you are a professional windsurfer.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to let you know that was my dream when I was 14 years old, and you are living my dream.
Oh my gosh, that's
So
cool.
fantastic. What's also interesting is you're from the country of New Caledonia. Can you please tell our listeners where New Caledonia is?
So New Caledonia is actually a French island located in the South Pacific Ocean, in between Australia and Fiji. That's kind of the way I like to put it. Yeah, and it's a beautiful tropical island. Got coral reef and great underwater. And that's where I'm from. I was lucky enough to be born there and grow up there.
And so how old were you when you started windsurfing?
Probably like teenage years, but not until I was 15 that I got to windsurf on a wave, because New Caledonia's waves are far on the outside reefs. They don't break on the shore. So I never got to see a real wave. And at the age of 15, a friend of mine took me to the outer reef. And when I first rode a wave, that's when it really became a passion. Before that, it was just a hobby. But yeah, the first wave changed everything.
I love that. The first wave changed everything. Listeners, there is a story in that. Stephen.
Yes.
How did you find this girl on a wave from New Caledonia?
You know, I was doing a job in Maui with her boss at the time. So her boss hired me. I'm from Phoenix. I flew into Maui and I met Sarah. And she was I
was programming for a startup. I think we need to backtrack a little bit. Being from New Caledonia and then move to Maui to pursue windsurfing.
Right.
At first, like any athletic and artistic career, it's hard to make a living. So I was working part-time as a programmer for a startup, and we had to make a video for the startup, and Steven was there for that. And that's how we met.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I love the circuitous route that this story takes with respects to you going from New Caledonia to Maui to being a programmer. And you're from Phoenix, Steve? There is no waves in Phoenix.
No. So I've always been super passionate about the ocean. I love the ocean. It scares me. But when I got to Maui, it was the first time me being in Maui. I remember meeting Sarah. We jumped in this van with all the gear and we could barely see each other, and we were trying to have a conversation, and it was me and Sarah and the individual. And then once we got to the ocean, I couldn't even, I live in Phoenix.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God. And to see Sarah performing on the waves was like, wow, there's something here. And Sarah and I talked about this earlier. Sarah has this personality that you just gravitate towards, which is, it's really good. And she's really a good person. So it was very easy for me when I left, that week. I think I was there 10 days or something like that. When I went back to Phoenix, I picked up the phone and I called her and I said, hey, I was serious about making a film about you. And we talked about this when I left the airport. I said, I think I'm going to come back and make a film about you. And she was like, no, you're kidding. And I was like, no, I'm not kidding. So
No, you're kidding. Yeah.
That's how you think I speak.
But yeah, we I called her up and I said, let's do this. And I do corporate films.
So I apologize for interrupting, but you were doing a corporate film
Yes.
for the company she was programming
Yes.
for. I think that's a really important part about the magic of
Sure.
travel and introductions
No
and
question.
meeting people in a completely different environment, is that serendipitous, the possibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what
absolutely. I'm from the desert. She's from an island. We traveled to Maui, and we continue to travel. I mean, through the making of Girl on Wave, I would travel every month to Maui from Phoenix, and I would be there for 10 days. And then Sarah traveled from Maui to Phoenix, and then we went from Phoenix to San Diego, and then San Diego back to Phoenix. So there was travel. I mean, wow. Yeah, absolutely.
And how has this movie changed your life?
Well, it's first of all, it's incredible to see a film made with Hollywood cameras, because Steven films with a red camera, and when he started showing up to Maui and filming, like I was living there trying to survive, make a living, and Hawaii is an expensive place, and athletic and windsurfing career are not easy, and it's even harder if you're a woman. And so here we are filming with these Hollywood cameras, storing them in my truck that's worth $1,000, you know.
And the cameras are more than the truck.
Oh, like 50 times the truck, you know.
The screen was
and
more
so it was already nuts. And then the film came out in 2017, the end of 2017, and it still feels surreal, because I see myself on the screen. I see myself now on television, because we've got to deal with DirecTV and Sports Illustrated channel.
Fantastic. So you're not programming anymore?
I'm not programming anymore. And I'm able to solely focus on the sport. And, you know, it was kind of hard, because I was not necessarily pushed to pursue an athletic career, even when I got this moment of 15-year-old feeling passionate in, and this is going to be my life. My family didn't push me to pursue that path, because I mean, it was just crazy to think you could make a living out of that.
Right.
And so I kind of followed a more normal path. And between 18 and 23, I went to school. I got a master's degree in computer science and applied math. And when I was doing job interviews, I was still like, no, that doesn't feel right. That's not what I want to do. It feels safe, and I can have my job and my salary be comfortable, but I don't want comfort. I want to live my dream. And
I love what you just said about it didn't feel right. And how about you? How did that feel with you, Steven?
You know, we talked about that again on the way in from the airport. We just made a movie. I just said, let's do it. And I would fly in for 10 days. And we both didn't know. I didn't know. I make corporate films, and I've done national commercials. I've done 3 national commercials, but I've never done a film. So I would come in, and we'd film on red. We'd go back to Phoenix. We'd create these sequences. We'd look at all the edits, and then we would start building the story.
Did you know what the story was going to be before?
I did, and that's another story. 3 months into it, her and her husband basically said, Steven, we don't get it. We don't know what you're doing. We're a little confused of how the movie, and then they would say something like, well, we think maybe it, and I was like, hold on. I'll never forget this. I actually have the notebook to prove it. Sarah goes, I said, here's how the movie starts. The movie starts with you writing this Jaws, and then we go back in time to 3 months prior, and we tell the story, and Sarah's writing this down. She's writing. And that's how the story progressed. And I'll never forget her husband and her face. They were like, oh, okay, so there is a, and for me, to their credit, I didn't really share a lot, because at the time I was, so consumed with filming and lighting and editing and processing and coloring and how it's working. And so I hope that answered your question.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a crazy adventure. And like for us, it was also, you got to see the film, but at the time I was living in a house with 3 or 4 other roommates and never knowing how we're going to pay next month's rent, trying to train and invest into working out, into training with a trainer, into being able to buy tickets to go to competition. And, it was tight. It was rough. And even though I was not programming anymore during the production, but I was teaching fitness classes, and it was a lot to carry, and without the guarantee of anything really, and so it's just, it's our passion and the desire to create something.
I love that. I love the passion and the desire to create.
Yeah.
I think that that's been the theme here at the Sonoma International Film Festival. And everybody can go
Yes.
to girlonwave.com.
Yeah.
And the film will be playing throughout the year at different locations, different film festivals.
You know, we continue to submit to film festivals, and they pick it. We've been very, very lucky in the Breckenridge Film Festival. You guys, we've been in I think 10 or 12 film festivals, and we've been very fortunate to where we won some of those festivals. But to answer your question, yes, you can see the film. We're on iTunes International. We're on Hulu, Xbox Live. We're on Amazon. We signed a deal with DirecTV about 6 months ago, and we just signed a deal with Sports Illustrated Television.
Congratulations!
We were with The Orchard for 4 years, so it's a continuation of, this film is very inspirational, and I think Sarah can attest to that, but you know, it resonates with people.
We're so excited. Thank you both for being here, and
Thank
good
you.
luck with your Film Today show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys online, and all the information will be on WhereTraveler.com.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, listeners, for joining me. You've been listening to the Where Traveler podcast, hosted by me, Teresa Rodriguez. This episode was produced and directed by Pete A. Turner, John Leon Guerrero, and Victoria Shepard. To listen to this podcast, find out more information about the crew, as well as Where Traveler, visit WhereTraveler.com, your ultimate destination guide.